Are you moving already? Yes, I'm leaving. I can't stay here any longer with people who use money without permission. What are you so angry about? It's your fault for leaving your pin lying around, isn't it? It's your own fault. The words that came out of Ethan's mouth stabbed deeply into my chest. Emily, with a smile on her face, added insult to injury. You're just a useless housekeeper. That's why I was against living together. Their voices clung to my ears and I couldn't say anything back. If I stayed in this house any longer, my dignity would only crumble further. I took a final breath, put my bag on my shoulder, and stood up. I understand now. I'm not needed anymore. I left those words behind and walked out of the house without looking back. The sound of the front door closing echoed loudly. When I stepped outside, a cold wind brushed my cheeks and tears finally overflowed. The frustration, sadness, and my own helplessness tightened my chest. But amidst those feelings, one clear emotion emerged. I decided I wouldn't let this be the end. I took a new step forward. My name is Sarah Hunter. I'm 66 years old. A few years ago, I lost my beloved husband to illness, and that became a turning point in my life. It was too much to bear being alone in the house where he was no longer present, so I decided to live with my eldest son's family. Looking back, the peaceful days gradually started to become turbulent from that time on. I believed my husband and I had a simple but happy life together. As a stay-at-home mom, my greatest joy in life was to protect our home and watch over our son's growth. My eldest son, Ethan, had been an active child, always taking on new challenges. He has a strong sense of responsibility towards his work. I'm proud of how he has overcome a past divorce and is now supporting his family after remarrying. Ethan's wife, Emily, is a cheerful and energetic woman. She raises their 2 children while also working part-time, somehow making the atmosphere of the household brighter, which is something I'm grateful for. On the other hand, my second son, Owen, has a reserved and diligent personality compared to his older brother. He's a family-oriented son who, while working busy days as a lawyer, showers his wife and 3 children with warm affection. Owen's wife, Maya, is also a wonderful person, always calm and homely. She never forgets to show her appreciation to me, sending me gifts every year for my birthday and Mother's Day. On the surface, our family seemed peaceful and harmonious. However, recently a small sense of unease has begun to grow in my heart. Ever since we started living with my eldest son's family, something that had been buried within the family started to surface. On the surface, Ethan has suggested living together out of concern for me. However, as life with my eldest son's family began, I started to feel that it was just a facade, and there might have been a different intention behind it. That feeling cast a ripple in my heart every day. Since we started living together, I've been feeling awkward and out of place. The sense of distance between Emily and me, in particular, sometimes makes my heart heavy. Sarah, can you take care of this again today? I'm going to lunch with my friends. It was around the time I finished cleaning up after breakfast when Emily came into the living room. She was dressed in a stylish dress, and her makeup was perfect. Sure, of course, I replied, though I couldn't help but feel a little hesitant. I couldn't honestly say no, I won't, which was the difficult part. Taking care of my grandchildren is tough, but I don't find it to be a burden. Rather, their innocent smiles are soothing. I think it's a very happy time. But when I feel like Emily is forgetting her role and pushing everything onto me, a small thorn pricks my heart. That day too, I took my grandchildren to the park, came home, prepared lunch, fed them, and cleaned up, by which time it was already mid-afternoon. I felt a dull ache in my lower back as I reached for the vacuum cleaner when Emily came home. I'm home. Sarah, were the kids okay? Yes, they were fine, but I'm a little tired. I said it modestly, but Emily just smiled and dismissed it. Oh, Sarah, you look perfectly fine to me. I have a meeting for my part-time job this afternoon, so can you watch them again? I'll be back by dinner. Yes, all right. I no longer had the energy to refuse. That night I decided to talk to Ethan. Ethan, I have something to talk to you about. What is it, Mom? You're being so formal all of a sudden. Ethan, who had finished his meal and was watching TV, lazily put down his remote. It's about Emily. Lately, she's been leaving all the housework and childcare to me. Honestly, it's a bit tough. Could you maybe help out a bit more? Come on, Mom, you can handle that much, can't you? Emily is busy with her part-time job. Ethan's words seemed to dismiss my appeal entirely. But I'm not young anymore, you know. I'm reaching my physical limits. I'd appreciate it if you two could give it some thought. Oh, come on, Mom. Isn't that a bit of an exaggeration? If it's that hard, just tell Emily directly. There was a coldness in Ethan's words that seemed to treat the matter as someone else's problem. That night, I couldn't fall asleep even after getting into bed. Where did I go wrong? If my husband were still alive, how would he view the situation? Unanswerable questions swirled in my head. In the midst of such days, my position within the household gradually became ambiguous and then worsened. At first, I think it was trivial things. Emily started to openly express her dissatisfaction with me, saying things like the way I folded laundry was wrong, or my choice of snacks for the children was bad. Sarah, this again? I think I told you the other day to please fold the laundry properly. It bothers me when things don't look uniform. I'm sorry, I'll be careful next time. I apologized, but inwardly, I couldn't accept it. Why'd I have to be told this? To make matters worse, even Ethan started to side with Emily. Mom, please listen to what Emily says. It's stressful for her to have to remind you of the same thing over and over. I mean, you're just letting us stay here, so it's only natural that you should adapt to Emily's way of doing things. Those words made my chest tighten. It was supposed to be a joint living arrangement, but it felt like I was being treated as a freeloader. But that wasn't the end of it. One evening, Ethan suddenly came into my room. Unusually, he seemed a bit awkward, his gaze wandering. Mom, I have something to talk to you about. What is it? Well, things are a bit tight this month financially. Emily's been working hard at her part-time job, but it's still not enough. I see. So what do you want? Could you maybe help us out a little? I mean, we're living together, so it's only natural, right? I was momentarily at a loss for words, surprised. I knew that the burden of housework was heavily on me, but I never expected to be asked for money. I'm already using my pension to cover everyone's living expenses, you know, and I don't have much in savings. Don't say that. It's just a little bit. Think of it as helping out your family. Pressed by the atmosphere, I reluctantly took out my wallet and handed him a few bills. Ethan received them as if it were the most natural thing in the world, gave a quick thanks, and left the room. After that, I sat there for a while, staring at the feeling of emptiness in my hands. Is what I'm doing really right? I thought I should do everything for my family, but at some point, it turned into a situation where I had no choice but to do everything. Even when I saw my grandchildren's smiles at the dinner table, the warmth I used to feel seemed to fade. Then the fatigue from my daily life accumulated, and I started to feel my physical and mental balance crumble. I woke up feeling heavy in the mornings, and my mind was always clouded. I was overwhelmed with housework and childcare, and I started making small mistakes. And Emily never missed those mistakes. Sarah, this soup is too salty. The kids are complaining. I'm sorry, I must have made a mistake with the measurements. Honestly, Sarah, are you okay lately? Please be more careful. Ethan added fuel to the fire. Mom, you're not being careful enough. Emily is already busy enough. You need to do your part around the house properly. Had no choice but to apologize repeatedly. In this house, my existence has somehow become less valued than that of a housekeeper. Amidst all this, the incident happened suddenly. One evening, Emily approached me with an unusually quiet voice. Sarah, I have something important to talk to you about. Is now a good time? Yes, of course. There was no smile on her face. The coldness in her gaze made my chest tighten. But Emily, likely not knowing my inner thoughts, sat on the sofa and began to speak in a serious tone. Lately, you've been a bit absent-minded, haven't you? We're all really worried. Is that so? I'm sure I'm just a little tired, so don't worry. But managing the household finances and money is difficult, isn't it? We'd be in trouble if something were to happen to you, so we think it's best if we manage it from now on. I doubted my ears for a moment. You'll manage my money? What do you mean? You know, your pension, savings, and your late husband's inheritance? It'll be safer if we manage it all together, right? We can prevent wasteful spending and use it for something useful. Her reasoning seemed plausible, but I could see them using up my money. I clenched my fists tightly and mustered my courage. Emily, I appreciate your concern, but I'm sorry. That's important to me, so I'll manage it myself. We're worried about you, Sarah. It'll be safer if we do it, don't you think? It might be safer, but I've always done it myself, and I want to continue doing so. Emily's face momentarily turned stern. But she avoided further argument, and finally, with a forced smile, she said, I understand, but if anything happens, please let us know. Yes, thank you. Despite saying that, I was filled with unease. I couldn't imagine she would give up so easily. My life and myself felt as if they were being steadily eroded. Even at night, the anxiety took root in my chest, and I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. I need to do something. But what should I do? That day I was busy since morning and finally finished hanging out the laundry afternoon. Exhausted, I returned to the living room where Emily, sitting on the sofa, tossed something at my feet as if throwing it away. Sarah, here, I'm returning this for now. What rolled before me was my bank book. What? Why is this here? My chest tightened with anxiety as I hurriedly picked it up and checked its contents. When I opened it, the bank book showed a long list of unfamiliar withdrawals. And on the last page, a balance close to zero was all that remained. What's going on? Emily, my savings. It wasn't that much to begin with, was it? And Sarah, leaving a memo with your PIN is just poor risk management. Without any sign of remorse, Emily continued. Well, we used the money for our family's living expenses, so you should be grateful. Or if you don't like it, you can just leave. Her words made my head spin. My legs trembled and I could barely stand, but even then I managed to choke out these words. How could you do something so cruel? Do you know how hard your father and I worked to save that money? Hard work? If we weren't here, wouldn't you be living a lonely life all by yourself by now? We're letting you live with us, so you should be happy you at least get this much. At that moment, something inside me snapped. I realized my voice would no longer reach them. I started packing my belongings with trembling hands. I sorted through the drawers of my dresser, efficiently packing clothes and daily necessities into a bag. As I worked in my room, a feeling of breathlessness and humiliation washed over me, but still, no tears fell. Then the front door opened. It seemed Ethan had come home. When Emily explained the situation, Ethan, with a faint smile, entered my room. Are you moving already? Yes, I'm leaving. I can't stay here any longer with people who use money without permission. What are you so angry about? It's your fault for leaving your PIN lying around, isn't it? It's your own fault. The words that came out of Ethan's mouth stabbed deeply into my chest. Emily, with a smile on her face, added insult to injury. She's just a useless housekeeper. That's why I was against living together. Their voices clung to my ears and I couldn't say anything back. If I stayed in this house any longer, my dignity would only crumble further. I took a final breath, put my bag on my shoulder, and stood up. I understand now. I'm not needed anymore. I left those words behind and walked out of the house without looking back. The sound of the front door closing echoed loudly. When I stepped outside, a cold wind brushed my cheeks and tears finally overflowed. The frustration, sadness, and my own helplessness tightened my chest. But amidst those feelings, one clear emotion emerged. I decided I wouldn't let this be the end. I took a new step forward. It had been 3 months since I left my eldest son's house. At first, I was filled with anxiety, but I gradually got used to my new life and regained the ability to live at my own pace. Then one day, I had unexpected visitors. Mom, we know you're here. Let us in. The voice coming from the intercom was Ethan's. Emily's voice followed. Sarah, please, we need to talk. I took a deep breath and slowly unlocked the auto lock. A few minutes later, the two appeared in my room, clearly agitated, their faces pale. Ethan was holding several documents in his hand. What's wrong? You look so flustered. My calm voice contrasted with Ethan's obvious frustration as he thrust the documents he was holding towards me. Look at this. It's a demand for payment for the rent. It's $1,500 a month, and we're 3 months behind. The documents in front of me showed the details of the rent arrears for the house. However, I kept my expression neutral and replied calmly. I see. That's tough. So what are you going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? We came here to ask you. We've always left the house matters to you, so we don't know anything about this. Ethan spoke angrily. You left it to me? I tilted my head slightly, a small laugh escaping my lips. You mean you forced it on me? Besides, I've already left that house. Our cohabitation is over. I have no obligation to manage your finances. At those words, Emily raised her voice. How can you say that when we're in such a bind? We had no idea the rent was this high. I raised my eyebrows slightly. Come to think of it, you two were quite indifferent to the household finances when I was there. You were so focused on using my money that you never thought about fixed expenses, income, and expenditure, did you? And besides, you should have received notices before the demand for payment. Did you just ignore them for 3 months? We didn't ignore them. It's just that you were always the one handling those things. That's right, but I'm free from that rule now. Their agitation grew visibly. Ethan, agitated, ran his hand through his hair and glared at me. Mom, this isn't the time to be saying that. If this continues, we'll be kicked out of the house. That's a problem. But what do you expect me to do about it? I kept my composure and responded, and their faces turned even paler. Mom, we're in trouble. It's not fair for you to be living comfortably alone. Unfair, you say? I paused for a moment, then tightened my lips slightly. I endured a lot in that house. You used my pension and savings. Do you two have any right to call me unfair? That's... Emily was about to say something when there was a knock on the door. The door opened slowly and the people who appeared there made the two of them freeze in place. It was my second son, Owen, and his wife, Maya. Seeing their faces, Ethan and Emily widened their eyes. Why are you two here? Ethan's voice was filled with surprise and confusion. Owen, with a calm look in his eyes, slowly entered the living room. It's no wonder you're surprised, big brother. Actually, after Mom left, I heard about what happened and we decided to take her in. Take her in? What do you mean? Owen sighed and began to explain. We were originally looking for a new apartment, and we found a spacious two-family apartment, so we bought this place and invited Mom to live with us. So now, Mom is living with us. What? Why would you do that without consulting us? Emily yelled hysterically, and Owen's eyes turned cold. Without consulting you? Who should we be consulting exactly? You kicked Mom out of the house and now you're complaining? Ethan and Emily couldn't say anything back. When I heard what happened for Mom, I honestly couldn't believe it. Not only did you use her pension and savings, but you also threw such awful words at her, and in the end you kicked her out. Owen's voice was calm, but behind it I could feel his firm anger. Maya agreed, and we didn't hesitate to welcome Mom in. Mom is an important part of our family. I don't know what you two think, but we won't let you bother her anymore. We care about Mom too. Ethan tried to interject, but Owen cut him off. Now let me ask you, why did you ask Mom for money? Why did you treat her like a housekeeper? Is that how you treat family? That's... Ethan's voice trailed off, unable to offer a clear rebuttal. Mom doesn't need to make any more sacrifices for you two. We'll protect her, so please don't bother her any further. Wait a minute, that's so unfair. Emily tried to object, but then Maya stepped forward with a resolute attitude and spoke. More importantly, have you had a chance to look at the demand for payment? At those words, Emily's face went blank, while Ethan's face turned pale. Why do you know about the payment demand? Emily asked in confusion, and Maya answered calmly. Because the owner of that house is my father. The owner? Emily looked stunned, and Ethan let out a small groan. That's right. My father runs a real estate company, and that house is one of the properties he owns. Ethan, as the contract holder, you should have known that, of course. Did you not tell Emily? Maya's gaze fixed on Ethan, who dropped his gaze further and looked pained. Wait a minute. I didn't hear about this. What's going on, Ethan? Emily's voice trembled with anger. So what? We were borrowing that house on the goodwill of a relative? But even so, charging $1,500 a month is too high. That's a ripoff. At her words, Maya shrugged and continued in a matter-of-fact tone. Normally, a property with those conditions would cost over $3,000 a month. It was because you were relatives that you got a special rate of $1,500. You should be grateful. I didn't hear about that. Ethan, what does this mean? Emily pressed Ethan, her voice shaking with anger. Ethan, stammering, replied. I didn't think I needed to tell you. I thought you'd worry about unnecessary things. Unnecessary things? You kept something like this for me? Emily's voice was shaking with anger, but her anger seemed lost, not knowing where to land. But $1,500 a month is too expensive. There's no way we can pay that. Emily turned back to Maya, but she didn't flinch, calmly preparing her next words. Ethan had completely lost his words, covering his face with his hands. I didn't think it would turn out like this. But it did, and it's your responsibility. Owen's voice was heavy as he interjected. The tension in the room reached its peak. Then Maya spoke, calmly and resolutely. And when Mom was living with you, its rent was reduced to $500 a month. What? Emily's eyes widened in shock. Actually, Ethan asked us to send him money before. He said he would take care of Mom, so we should help out financially. We thought it was natural to cooperate since we're family, but we didn't know what he would use the money for. So instead of sending money, we had the rent reduced. Of course, I consulted with my father, the owner, beforehand. Ethan tried to say something, but immediately hung his head, unable to speak. And there was a condition to that agreement. The rent would be reduced only while Mom lived in that house. In other words, since Mom left, the contract naturally reverts to its original terms. Emily looked bewildered and turned to Ethan. I didn't hear about that. What's going on? Well, I didn't remember all the details. As always, Ethan was stammering and couldn't give a proper answer. In other words, the rent going up to $1,500 a month is a result of your own choices. Also, we've heard about how you treated Mom. Maya's voice contained a cold anger. Then Emily, as if in a panic, started to make excuses. Still, we're family, right? We were wrong to kick Mom out, but isn't it too harsh to do this to family? Can't you cut us some slack? At those words, Maya narrowed her eyes and responded with a firm tone. Cut you some slack because we are family? I don't consider people who don't value their own mother as family. Emily's expression froze, and Ethan hung his head, unable to say anything. By the way, I've already reported this whole incident to my father, the owner. He said whether or not to take legal action is up to you two. He thinks you should take responsibility for your actions considering you've been taking advantage of your family. Hearing Maya's words, Ethan covered his face, and Emily turned completely pale, unable to move. The room fell into a tense silence, the tension reaching its limit. Then Owen let out a quiet sigh and spoke in a heavy tone. Big brother, Emily, you should expect a formal notice of collections to arrive soon. Make sure you read it carefully. At those words, the couple looked up in shock for a moment. A notice of collections? What do you mean? Ethan asked in a trembling voice, and Owen explained calmly. In the 3 months since Mom left, I've been gathering evidence of how you used her assets, her pension savings, and Dad's inheritance. I have clear records of all the unauthorized withdrawals you made. What? Emily's voice was lost, and Ethan, turning red, shouted. That's a lie! There's no way you have proof. Owen took out a bundle of documents and placed it on the table. This is the proof. Just from what we have records of, it amounts to nearly $50,000. $50,000? There's no way we can pay that back. Ethan raised his voice, but Owen remained unfazed. If you can't pay it back, we'll have to file a police report for theft. In fact, you taking Mom's bank book, which she was managing, without her permission is clearly illegal. We have evidence to back that up, so if Mom decides to sue, it could go to court. After hearing that explanation, Emily turned pale and clung to Owen, her voice pleading. Please wait, we didn't mean any harm. We were just struggling financially. Whatever your intentions were, the fact that you used Mom's assets without her permission remains the same. If you were struggling, you should have consulted with her beforehand. Emily couldn't say anything more, and Ethan remained completely silent. Owen continued. We already know everything about how you treated Mom, and we don't think that's how family should behave. So with this incident, we're ending our relationship as a family. We have no intention of providing any further assistance. The couple couldn't say anything back, just standing there stunned. Big brother, this is my last warning. If you cause Mom any more trouble, we won't hesitate to take legal action. Be prepared for that. Owen's words were relentless, completely dominating the atmosphere. After a period of silence, Emily grabbed Ethan's arm and said, Let's go, Ethan. There's no point in staying here any longer. Ethan tried to say something back, but he seemed to have lost the will to do so, nodding weakly and leaving the apartment dejectedly. As the two were leaving, Maya calmly delivered a final message. We won't be accepting any more unannounced visits like this. Please act with integrity. Without responding, the couple left with their shoulders slumped. When the door closed, silence filled the room. Owen let out a deep sigh and turned to me. Mom, are you okay? I whispered a small thank you, and finally felt the tension release from my body. Several months later, Ethan and Emily had no choice but to leave that house. They apparently managed to scrape together the money to pay the overdue rent, but they couldn't pay back the money they had used all at once. So it was decided that they would pay it back in monthly installments. I heard that they're now living with Emily's parents, but it's not very comfortable. Apparently, there were pre-existing tensions between Emily and her parents, and living under one roof has created a constantly tense atmosphere. I also heard through the grapevine that they're struggling financially. Ethan is working extra jobs on his days off, and Emily is working multiple part-time jobs. When I think about the financial strain they're under, having had to give up their home that they had rented at a discount due to a relative's goodwill, I feel a slight pang of sympathy, but I remind myself that it's a consequence of their own choices. On the other hand, I'm living a fulfilling and peaceful life. This two-family apartment where I live with Owen and his family has become my new home. We maintain our own privacy while being close enough to rely on each other when needed, which is great. Recently, Maya has been asking me to teach her how to cook, which has become more frequent. Maya is a good cook, but she hasn't had much experience with cooking, especially when it comes to making simmered dishes or getting the right ingredients. Sarah, is this the right seasoning? It might be a little light, but it'll be just right once it's simmered. Cooking together like this is a fun time for me too. The other day when we set the table, Owen and the grandchildren's eyes lit up as they reached for their spoons. "This is delicious, Mom. How did you make this?" "Grandma and I made it together." Seeing the innocent smiles of my grandchildren and the happy faces of my son, my heart naturally warmed. I'm so glad I had the courage to leave that house back then. If I had stayed in Ethan and Emily's house, I'm sure I wouldn't have been able to experience these peaceful and happy times. Looking back, there were certainly difficult days, but I feel like I learned something important through it all. I learned that to protect my own happiness, sometimes I have to let go of certain things. Outside the window, the gentle winter sunlight pours in. "Shall we have some tea?" I said, heading to the kitchen. What I feel in my heart is a definite sense of fulfillment and a quiet hope for the future.